Hi, this is Brandon from Watches on You. Today we're going to be taking a look at the TAG Heuer Formula 1 Calibre 6. Let's drop down and look at the more in-depth details of this watch. Alright, so let's take a closer look at the TAG Heuer Formula 1 Calibre 6. Now right away I want to remind you we're here at JB Hudson Jewelers in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They're an authorized retailer of TAG Heuer and many other premium brands. So I also want to remind you that I will be leaving a link in the description if you want to purchase this piece or learn more about it. So now jumping into the watch itself. So this watch is a 43mm diameter. It is completely made out of stainless steel, and there is a lot of brushed stainless steel in this thing. I mean, you can see on the bezel, it's brushed. Even on the sides of the links there, it's brushed, which is not actually that typical of watches such as this. But overall, I think the design aesthetic is much better than some of the less expensive Formula 1s. I absolutely trashed the quartz entry-level version, and I will be leaving a link in the description to that video. I did not mean to seem like I was turning up my nose to anyone who purchased that watch. Actually, you know what? I don't even care. Yeah, I was turning up my nose to someone who bought that because it's one of the most overpriced watches on the market. Now, this is in the pricing department, this watch is also a bit overpriced at $1,750. However, I'm sure at any jewelry store the price is negotiable, and you can find them online for much cheaper. Again, I'll be leaving links in the description. So I think that this watch actually does present much better value than the quartz version. I know it's more expensive. I'm going to get a lot of comments about that, and I don't frankly care that much because dislikes actually help you in the ratings as well, so whatever. I'm untouchable, I suppose, in that regard. So now getting into the movement of this watch, it's got the TAG Heuer Calibre 6. It's actually not, it's actually kind of interesting. So it is the TAG Heuer Calibre 6, whatever, but it actually shares two movements depending on probably when they produced this. The ETA 2895-2 movement or the Sellita SW260-1. And this may account for the range of power reserves that they give on their website, which is 38 to 44 hours, depending on the execution, which sounds very strange. And frankly, if I was writing the website, I would not have written it that way because it seems like they don't have that good of quality control. I understand if you give a range if it's like a chronograph, because it can totally depend on whether or not the chronograph is running, what your power reserve is. But in this instance, I don't really know, other than the fact that there are two movements that are named the Calibre 6 according to TAG Heuer. And also, one interesting thing to get kind of a little bit in the details, those range of power reserves may have to do with the joule number in each of those movements. The ETA movement that I discussed had 27 joules, whereas the Sellita version had 31. So I would assume that the lubrication in the Sellita is better. I don't know if they're actually functional joules. A lot of times movements don't have functional joules. But that's something to take into account. One thing I don't really like about this watch, aside from the movement, is the bracelet is actually much lower quality than I'd expect for something in this price range. Something like an Oris has a much higher quality bracelet. But overall, the bracelet design isn't that bad. I quite like it. The clasp, though, is pressed metal. It's quite cheap feeling. There is a diver's extension on this watch, which is quite useful, as this watch is actually fully capable of being a dive watch. Other than the fact that it doesn't have a center second, I don't know how big of a deal that is for most divers. I'm not a scuba diver, but I think that overall it's got a 200-meter water resistance, so that's totally fine for diving. Again, a Seiko SKX 007 also has a 200-meter water resistance, so it's great in that regard. I'll try this watch on. And the 43mm case size, it probably wears a little bit, it feels bigger, but it looks smaller, if that makes any sense. So on the wrist, it definitely has quite the presence. It's not necessarily that heavy, but it definitely is a larger watch. I would actually say it looks much better in real life than it's appearing on camera here. It is a quite handsome piece, and especially with that beautiful blue dial. There is a black dial version. I chose to use the blue for the review. I think TAG Heuer actually does an excellent job with the blues that they choose for their dials. But again, the 43mm case size, it might look big on some people. I have about a 6.5-inch circumference wrist, but I think it looks totally fine. It's a very nice looking watch, especially for a young person like myself. So if you like this video, please remember to subscribe and share. And again, I left links in the description if you want to learn more about it. Thank you.